Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gopinath, Radha Gopinath, Shri Radhe. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Go Premanandi. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajagacharya Ashtotra Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Abhayachan Ravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajagacharya Ashtotra Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. Aranta Kori Vaishnava Vrind Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrind Ki. Ganga Mai Ki, Yamuna Mai Ki, Tulsi Devi Ki, Srila Prabhupada Transcendental Book Distribution Ki, Srila Prabhupada Transcendental Prasharam Distribution Ki, Karthik Maas Ki, Nitai Go Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Namo. Hare Krishna. So before we start discussing, let's fold our hands and recite an invocation to pray to our acharyas to invoke this auspiciousness. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, thank you everyone for being here this evening. Today we will be discussing the glories of the month of Karthik. So before I get started, I just wanted to ask if every one of you, or if someone who has not heard of what is the month of Karthik, is there someone here who's hearing this for the very first time, the month of Karthik, this very term? Everyone know about the month of Karthik? Okay, that's good. So, in the Vedic calendar, which is basically based on the lunar calendar, so in our day-to-day life, we follow the solar calendar. So today is Sunday, tomorrow is Monday. This is the month of October. There'll be November, December, and it's all going as per the solar calendar. So there's different months, and there are 12 months in the year. So equivalent to that, in the Vedic calendar, which is driven by the moon, so the solar calendar is driven by the movements of the sun. The lunar calendar is driven by the movements of the moon. Our Lordship Shri Radha Gopinath Krishna appears in the moon dynasty. So we follow the lunar calendar for many. So a lot of Vedic ceremonies, festivals are actually observed as per observance of the lunar calendar. So if you look at the Vedic calendar, if some of you have access to the Vedic calendar on your phone or through whatever resources, you'll see every month has a name. Chaitra, Vishaka, Kartika. And in every month, a different form of Krishna is being worshipped, which is basically meant for our spiritual elevation. So this month is called the month of Kartika. So it is started from October 20th. It'll start and it'll end. It starts on the full moon and it'll end at the next full moon. So it's the month of Kartika, and the presiding deity of Krishna that's worshipped in this month is Lord Damodara. So this month, so in each month on the Vedic calendar, generally practitioners offer or they undergo a lot of austerities. There are different forms of worship that are actually prescribed, and by performing each of these austerities, or in Sanskrit the word is called vratas, you actually gain a lot of spiritual benefit. This month of Kartika is actually known to be Urja Vrata, so anything that's performed for the satisfaction of Urjeshwari, which we'll describe in a few minutes. However, this month is known as a super sale month. So I'm pretty sure I myself and most of us here, we usually, when we try to shop for something or we're looking for some commodity or something, we try to find the best value for the least amount, right? So if we want to buy a car, we want to buy any commodity, we try to see when is it going off on sale. Usually it all depends on, it coincides with end of the year, end of the financial year. Certain commodities will be reduced to a certain price, and then we try to find that time or period, and then we go and purchase it. So similarly, this month of Kartika, as per Vedic prescriptions, is known to be the super sale month. So in this month, whatever austerities we perform, whatever different forms of devotional service that's prescribed to us that we perform is actually going to benefit us without, we can't even actually conceive of the benefit that we'll get in this month. So just before we get into the understanding of what this month is and how to best make the best use of it, I would like to read a verse from the Bhagavad Gita. So for those of you that would like to access it on your phone, or if you have a book or through any of your devices, it's Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, verse number 9. Now if any of you have it, you can chant along with me. If you don't, you can just hear the sound vibration itself will give us that strength. So it's chapter 4 of the Gita and verse number 9. I'll go slow so you can chant along with me. If not, it's fine. Like I said, just hear along. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti so arjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, Arjuna. So, later on in the evening, we'll be seeing how this month is so auspicious because we are worshipping Lord Damodara, and I don't want to take away the suspense because so we'll try to build up to it, but in this month we see a lot of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavana have been depicted. So devotees worship Lord Damodara because Lord Damodara in his pastime is being bound by Mother Yashoda. Also there is a pastime of Lord Krishna lifting the Govardhan hill. There's also the pastime of the appearance of Radha Kund and Sham Kund that happens in Vrindavan. And many other childhood pastimes of Krishna happen in this month. But we need to understand it through the eyes of Shastra. A lot of times that can happen, we'll see, oh, Lord Damodara, Lord Krishna as a baby stealing butter, oh, how cute, my son or my child also steals butter, so naturally the conclusion would be, let's think of a child as baby Damodara and, we'll just bring this whole pastime to a mundane level. So, what does this mean when Krishna says, one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but retains my eternal abode, Arjuna. So, just to shed light on this, there's another verse in the Bhagavatam. Again, you all are welcome to chant this along with me. But it's from Canto number 1, chapter 2, verse number 11. Again, repeat it. Canto number 1, chapter 2, verse number 11. Vadanti tat tattva vidas Tattvam yajnanam advayam Brahmeti paramatmeti Bhagavaneti shabdyate. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma or Bhagavan. So why are we discussing this, and how do we understand this so that we'll be able to apply this in our lives? So for most of us, or if not all of us, if you just go out in the street or if you just speak to someone, you ask someone, what's your philosophy in life? Right? You just ask someone, what's your philosophy in life? And they'll say, oh, our philosophy in life is to be happy. There may be so many coverings of it. We'll want to make money, we'll want to have relationships, we want to have the best of everything, but underlying all of it is we want to be happy. That's the underlying philosophy everyone's living their life with. However, those objects which will make one happy are actually not eternal. You see, everything that's associated with the body is going to come to an end. So there'll be a beginning and an end. So the Vedas actually describe this as relative truth. So for example, today I'm having whatever wealth or whatever fame. However, with the passing of time, that wealth will go away, that fame will go away, whatever I've invested in terms of relationship will also go away. So that's relative. That means that it will change. But the Bhagavatam and the Vedic wisdom points us to the absolute truth, that which does not change. And we've just read this here in this text. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma or Bhagavan. So, like I said, a lot of us, maybe not in this room, but in general, people want to live life to the fullest. That's their philosophy. Now, if they're really intelligent enough, they'll come to a phase in their life where they'll say, okay, I've tried everything in my life, however, I didn't get eternal happiness. Or, I was happy for some time, and then some things happened where I'm not happy. So there's always this duality. Today I'm happy. So once I was hearing someone say that, a Swami say, that how contradictory is this world. I've just attended or I've given the names of 2 babies that were born. However, the next minute I had to attend 2 funerals of 2 people. So at a given moment, I'm giving names to babies who have just come into this world, and the very next moment I'm attending a funeral. So when one realizes that this world is temporary, naturally they say, okay, there's something higher that one should aspire for. And a lot of times they say, okay, there's some higher power beyond my understanding. What is that? That means anything in this world that gives me pleasure, there has to be something opposite to that. Or there's something that's, in this world, if there is pain and suffering, there have to be bliss somewhere else. That bliss, people start first experiencing it through Brahman, impersonal light. A lot of time when you ask people, they'll say, oh, in this world, my relationships gave me suffering, so that means in the perfected world, or something that will not give me suffering is where there's no relationship. So complete light, or complete absence of suffering. So that's what people call as Brahman. So people aspire for that. So you'll see yogis and in general people just go out in the forest and meditate for thousands and thousands of years just to penetrate or be a part of that light or that impersonal Brahman. When people get slightly more advanced, then they see that even though there is something that's controlling this universe, or something that's higher than that, there's intelligence that's actually being governed. So nothing, every morning the sun comes out at its scheduled time, and the sun sets at its scheduled time. It's not happening whimsically. Even though whatever I may do, if I try to create an artificial sun, it won't be possible. So there's intelligence behind all of that. So the yogis, when they meditate, they understand that there's intelligence behind all of it, and that's coming from the super soul. So there is something that's really controlling, and that's residing in everyone's heart as a super soul, as a Paramatma. Now when you come to the stage of understanding that there's Paramatma, there's something there's the super soul in my heart that's actually controlling the activities. However, I have a relationship with this Paramatma. That takes us to the understanding of Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which the Vedas describe. And that Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually is present as the impersonal light as well as the Paramatma, but is aloof from all of it and has a relationship with each and every one of us. So now when we read this verse in the Bhagavad Gita, one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activity does not, upon leaving the body, take this birth again this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So we start to unravel the mystery of the infinite descent into the finite. So on one hand we'll say God is so great, but how does God reciprocate with us? And that is through love. Through love that is pure and that's unconditional and unmotivated. And if you really see, God's love for us is so great that Krishna performs all these pastimes just to attract our hearts. He comes into this world just to show us what is it like to love him. Even though the yogis are meditating on Krishna or the super soul for thousands of years, he still loves to be chased around by his mother, just to show the human side of him. But most importantly, these human pastimes that the Lord is displaying to us is of the highest perfection. That is, so in this material world we all have relationships, right? We have our family, we have our children, we have our friends, we have parents, we have servants, we have, in all states of existence we all have relationships. So those relationships in this world are perverted reflections of what's in the spiritual world. So in the spiritual world too, Krishna, as God, has his relationships. He has a mother and a father. He has his friends. He has his girlfriends and his boyfriends, and he also has different entities like cows or other entities that are reciprocating in love with him. So everything there is actually driven by love. Now coming to this pastime of Damodar Leela, or this, what we'll be now discussing in a bit. After the talk there'll be a drama, and then following that will be announcements on what's actually going to happen in this month. So as we say, Krishna is controlled by love. So this pastime of Lord Damodar actually happens in this month, but it happens on the day of Diwali. So we all know here what's Diwali. When Diwali happens, so Diwali is scheduled this year on the 24th of this month. So on the morning of Deepavali, Krishna, as a boy who's just 4 years, between 3 to 4 years of age, wakes up in the morning and is being nursed by his mother Yashoda. And prior to that, actually there's a pastime in which Now Krishna is a transcendental thief. If I go to the shops and try to steal something, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to end up in jail. But when Krishna steals, it's actually a delight for the devotees, because the devotees rejoice in that pastime. And Krishna's stealing actually becomes a source of not only relish, but it also liberates us. It brings us above our material conditioning. So what happens is prior to this, Krishna every morning or every day, he goes out with his friends and he steals butter from the houses of the residents of Vrindavan. So Krishna is stealing butter. So every day Krishna steals butter and he gets away. He's stealing butter, no one catches him, and he gets away. And the ladies are all saying, Krishna, you're stealing butter, but you get away. One day, Krishna and his friends, they hatch a plan, they're stealing butter, and guess what, all of a sudden, one of the ladies of the homes, she foils this plan and she catches him red-handed. She catches Krishna red-handed, says, Krishna, now I've caught you. Now, and prior to this, every day, whenever the ladies go out to complain to Mother Yashoda that your son is stealing butter from my home, she doesn't believe it. She's like, every day, because Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj actually have 900,000 cows in their home or in their surrounding area where they're actually grazing. And out of those 900,000 cows, there are, I believe, 108 cows that are most special to Krishna. So every day there's a complaint that gets lodged at Mother Yashoda's home that your child is stealing butter from our home. And Mother Yashoda is like, that can't happen. I have the best cows here and I'm feeding the best butter, so you are lying. So this one particular day, Mother Yashoda, the lady catches hold of Krishna, and Krishna is having butter all over his face along with his friends, and his face is fully bedecked with butter, and the lady tells him, today you're caught red-handed, I'm going to take you, come with me. So she just grabs hold of Krishna and she takes him to Mother Yashoda's home. And as they take him to Mother Yashoda's home, they're like, today Krishna, now you've been caught red-handed, now you see. This whole time you've been proved innocent, but today you're guilty. So she takes him to Mother Yashoda's home, and she says, Mother Yashoda, today your son has been caught red-handed. Mother Yashoda is like, what are you talking about? And then she pulls Krishna right from the back, and she says, here your son is caught red-handed. Mother Yashoda says, no, that's not possible. And this lady looks at it, and Krishna, who was Krishna just a few minutes ago, is now transformed as this lady's son. So that lady's son is sitting there like, Mommy, what did you bring me here? I was sleeping at home. You brought me here. Now I'm all hungry. And the lady is saying, you were Krishna just a few minutes ago. Now what happened? And the lady says, oh. And Mother Yashoda says, see, again, every day you come to me and you lodge a complaint that my son has stolen butter. And today, look at your insanity. You brought your own son here. And you're telling me that my son stole butter. Look, Krishna's sleeping in the room. And they peep through the room and see Krishna is really sleeping. So this lady is now bewildered. What happened? She said, okay, maybe I'm having a nightmare. Let me just go out. And as she walks to her home, this child, who's actually her own child, that very moment that she is in her own vicinity, the child, Krishna again resumes his form and says, you see, you're trying to prove me guilty. Next time you do this, your husband will be in Mother Yashoda's home, and I'll be, and you'll be getting, and you see what's going to happen. Nanda Maharaj, Nanda Baba will actually punish you because you took me there and you tried to punish me. So this time I'm giving you a warning, it's your son, next time it will be your husband. So this is the pastime, this is happening every day in Gokul. So there's one fine morning, Mother Yashoda is actually nursing Krishna, and while she's nursing him, there's milk that's being boiled on the stovetop. So, and this is again milk that's being boiled, and which will later be churned into butter for Krishna's pleasure. So as the milk starts boiling, it topples over. At that very moment, Mother Yashoda just puts Krishna aside, and then she just goes to attend to the milk. And the very moment that she goes to attend to the milk, at that very next moment, Krishna gets angry because he said, I was being fed by my mother and now she's gone to look after this milk. So Krishna gets angry. At that very moment he steps out and he goes into this room where there are pots of butter hanging on the ceiling, and he mounts himself on a chair and he breaks the pot and he starts eating butter from that. Meanwhile, Mother Yashoda, after she's taken care of the boiling milk that was overflowing, she goes to the room and she sees Krishna is not there. And when she doesn't see Krishna there, she's in anxiety, but she sees that there are little butter footprints that are being laid on the ground. So she immediately knows Krishna is up to some mischief. So as she sees Krishna walking, she sees Krishna from a distance that, oh, he's broken the butter pot, he's eaten butter, and she's okay with that. However, what she sees next, that Krishna has taken the butter and feeding the monkeys. And now she's like, okay, something is wrong. So she starts chasing after Krishna. And Krishna, seeing this from a distance, that, oh my God, now my mother has really seen what I'm up to, he starts running. As he starts running, now again we need to understand that Krishna, who's been the object of meditation by the yogis for thousands and thousands of years, who can't even catch him in their meditation, this Krishna is running away in fear from Mother Yashoda. So every day of this month, which we'll be describing later, we have Anandmoy Gopinath Prabhu here describing what the program would be. Every day of the month, we sing the Damodar Ashtakam prayers. There are 8 prayers in glorification of Lord Damodar. And one of them is what I've just described, how these yogis are trying to catch Krishna or the super soul in their hearts just for the split of a moment. However, this Krishna is running in fear of Mother Yashoda. How the Supreme acts is truly inconceivable to our understanding. So, coming back to this pastime, the Lord is running, and because he's small and tender, he's got smaller feet, he can run. He's running through the different lanes of Gokul, and Mother Yashoda is running behind him. And as she's running behind him, she's obviously getting tired, she's getting exhausted. And it is said at that very moment, Krishna stops for a moment to see, oh, where's my mother now? At that very moment, Mother Yashoda latches onto him like, hey, I caught you. Now I have you here. So that moment she catches Krishna and she says, now I need to punish you. And she means that not out of, she doesn't want to inflict punishment onto Krishna, but she wants to actually provide some discipline. So a lot of times you'll see parents doing that to their children, where they'll want to promote discipline or they want to really encourage discipline in their children. So they'll say, oh, today you're not going to have food. They don't mean it, that we're not going to feed you, but they're trying to tell you, because you behaved, you didn't do your homework on time, or you were being extra naughty, I'm going to have to punish you. So similarly, Mother Yashoda wants to punish Krishna. What happens now is Krishna has been caught. So Mother Yashoda, as a means of trying to finding ways to punish Krishna, she says, I'm going to tie you to this wooden mortar. So you'll see later on here, there will be what we've been just describing on how this pastime actually ensues. So she finds a wooden mortar and she tries to find a rope to tie Krishna to this mortar. So she says, okay, this is my plan. So she brings the first set of rope from her home and she tries to tie Krishna to this mortar. Now every morning when Krishna is going out to play with his friends, Mother Yashoda dresses him up. She puts on a belt. She dresses him up with all his ornaments. And so every morning she's accustomed to doing this, but tying Krishna up, or, putting his bells, putting on his different jewelry. However, now when she puts on the first set of rope, when she tries to tie the rope to the mortar, they are 2 fingers too short. She says, okay, no problem. Let me get some more rope. She gets some more rope. Again, the rope is 2 fingers too short. She gets all of the rope in her house, and she says, she tries to tie Krishna again. So Lord Damodara, Damo means rope and Udara means belly. So Lord Damodara, the name why Krishna is given this name because of this pastime where he's being tied by his belly to the ropes of the wooden mortar. So Mother Yashoda brings ropes, all the ropes in a house, again 2 fingers too short. Then while seeing all of this, all of the elderly gopis in Vrindavan say, Mother Yashoda, what are you trying to do? She said, I'm trying to tie this naughty boy to the mortar. She's like, okay, we'll bring ropes. So it comes to a point where all of the ropes in all of Vrindavan, outside of Vrindavan, are being brought. And again, she ties them, or she tries to tie them. What happens next? 2 fingers too short. Finally, Krishna, seeing that how Mother Yashoda is being exhausted and she's persevering so hard that he finally gives in and he ties, and she ties him to the mortar, and Krishna is now finally tied to the mortar. Now, there's a very deep and instructive message in this pastime so far, where Krishna is being tied to the mortar, and why was the rope 2 fingers too short. So our acharyas, our teachers, explain this, that in our endeavor, so all of us here want to please Krishna, want to bring Krishna into our homes, into our hearts, and in fact want to achieve Krishna's grace, achieve Krishna's mercy. So these 2 fingers too short has 2 important components to it. One is, in Sanskrit, is called parishrama, which is our own endeavor, and the other is called Krishna Kripa, Krishna's grace. So in our own attempts, when we are practicing bhakti, when we are practicing spiritual life, there are 2 things which are needed for us to be successful in our efforts to please Krishna. So we perform our daily practices, we chant the names of Krishna, we read Srimad Bhagavatam, we hear of Krishna's glories, we perform puja, artik in our home, we offer foodstuffs to Krishna, we share whatever we have in our own capacity with others to please Krishna. So that's our endeavor. And the other is Krishna Kripa, which is Krishna's mercy. Once a devotee told me that they were speaking to a Christian theologian, and the Christian theologian said, how are you going to attract the grace of God? How are you going to, in one sense, achieve heaven or achieve the highest goal? And this devotee responded to their question by saying, by chanting the names of God, or by performing acts of devotion to please the Lord. That's how and he said, that's not true. To achieve God, you need grace. You need the mercy of God. So, yes, we need the grace of God. Now, there are 2 aspects to it. If I simply feel that by my own endeavor, by my own practice, I'm going to achieve the grace of God, then that's basically putting our own egos ahead of us and saying, you know what, we can achieve God, so we don't need God's grace, we can achieve God. However, if we don't do anything and just simply sit around and say we're just going to wait for God's grace. A lot of times we see people who say, when we ask them, why don't you come to the temple? Oh, we'll only come to the temple when God calls us, when Krishna calls us. Now, superficially that may seem good. Oh, look at how pure this person is. But on one level, we are not understanding that we come to the temple, we come to see Shri Radha Gopinath, it's not that we are doing Krishna a favor, but actually that very act of us coming in front of Shri Radha Gopinath and offering up prayers is actually meant to purify our own existence. And at the same time, we please the Lord. So, Parishram and Krishna Kripa, these 2 things are needed for us to advance in our spiritual life. So, these 2 fingers too short actually represent these 2 very important principles, that we need to perform our activities for the pleasure of Krishna, devotional activities, and we also need Krishna's grace. In the Nectar of Devotion, some of you may be aware of this book that's been summarized to us by Acharya Srila Prabhupada, which was the summary study of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. In that, in chapter 12, one of the most important activities for advancing in spiritual life is to perform ceremonial functions. And the ceremonial function that's given the highest importance is Urja Vrata, what we just described. That is the month of Karthik. We perform different activities in this month of Karthik. And in this month of Karthik, the act which actually pleases the Lord the most is the offering of a ghee lamp to Shri Lord Damodara or Shri Radha Gopinath, or one of the forms of Krishna. But in this month, the offering of ghee lamps to Shri Radha Damodara are considered to be the most auspicious. In fact, we can't even consider the value of benefit that one can derive from this. And the glories of this month, the glories of this act of offering ghee lamps have been recounted in so many Puranas. I'll just end with two stories. It is said in one of the Puranas, in the Skanda Purana, that in a temple of Vishnu, there was an arati that was being performed. And towards the end of the aratik, the pujari left a ghee wick, or left the arati, the tray and basically the ghee wick just there, because just to offer it to for the people, for them to take the offerings of it. So a rat just enters into the temple, and from what is described, it was an old, dilapidated temple. There was no light in there, so people couldn't really notice the rat coming in. So the moment the rat comes in and sees this ghee wick, and sees ghee, which is obviously of nutrition to the rat just starts to just chew on the ghee wick towards ghee, which is the end of the wick, and starts to just chew on it. And because obviously there was still some fire at the end of the ghee wick, so the rat doesn't realize that the whisker of the rat along with some of the body parts of the rat are being burnt. And the rat starts jumping because it's being burnt. And as it's being burnt, it's jumping up and down, and within a few seconds, the rat just is being fully burnt. And in front of everyone's eyes, it's described that the rat just took a four-handed form and went to Vaikuntha. Because what the Lord saw was this rat that was jumping up and down is actually offering me a ghee lamp. So the Lord sees, someone offered me a ghee lamp. So that's the reward that the rat got, even though it didn't know what it was doing. Similarly, on another occasion, it is described in another temple, a Vishnu temple, there were some people outside the temple who were actually playing cards. They were just playing, as sometimes with friends that we end up, just playing cards or doing some sort of recreational activity, they were playing cards. And because it was dark, they said, let's try to light this place with a lamp. And because they didn't have any fire or anything to keep the flame going, they said, why don't you go inside the temple and actually get a ghee lamp? They said, okay, and it was the month of Karthik. So one of the people there goes inside the temple and grabs one of the ghee lamps, and whilst they're trying to light up the ghee lamp, in the process of that, on 3 or 4 occasions, they just go circular, and then they come out, and they take that ghee lamp, light the lamp, and it happens to be that during the course of the evening, multiple people, or pretty much every one of them, just to keep the flame going, go inside the temple, try to get the ghee lamp going, just so they can come outside, light the lamp for their activities. And as they offer the lamp, it is said, what does the Lord take it as? Even though they were using the lamp for whatever purposes they wanted, the Lord saw it as, they're offering me ghee lamp. So for whatever nefarious activities they were performing, but the very fact that the Lord saw that they were offering a ghee lamp, they got benefited. And what Krishna is describing here, they do not take birth in the material world, but attains my eternal abode, Arjuna. So this is the benediction that's given to us in this month. Just a very simple act of offering a lamp to the Lord. this is what we get. His Holiness Radhanath Swami once said, or he said once someone asked Srila Prabhupada, why do you offer a lamp to the Lord? What benefit does one get just taking a ghee wick and offering a lamp to the Lord? And Srila Prabhupada said, it increases your bhakti. So, bhakti is a rare opportunity, it's a rare gift that's given to us in this human form of life. In fact, in Nectar of Devotion, it is described, Urja Vrata, in this month of Urja Vrata, in this month of Karthik, devotees of Krishna generally go to Mathura or Vrindavan to perform, to stay there, to perform devotional service there, to hear the glories of Krishna, to circumambulate the different places of pilgrimage, because that helps in their elevation of their consciousness. So during the year we are so absorbed in our day-to-day activities that we take a month off and go to Vrindavan. So it's highly beneficial for everyone to go to Mathura. However, in this day and age, due to the mercy of our spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki! Mathura is not only residing within the tract of Mathura, but by his mercy we have Mathura here, we have Vrindavan here. It is said wherever the glories of Radha and Krishna are being sung, that's a place of pilgrimage. So we not only welcome Vrindavan or Radha and Krishna in our homes, but we actually welcome Radha and Krishna in our hearts. So every day of this month, there'll be an opportunity for all of us to come together in the temple every evening to offer lamps to Shri Radha Gopinath, Shri Lord Damodara. Not only that, but if for some reason we can't come every day, the Lord is so kind and merciful that they actually come to your home. In fact, Anandmoy Gopinath Prabhu will be making an announcement on how that's actually possible. So please, let's all of us take this unique opportunity that's presented to us. There are 5 million people in Sydney, roughly. About that. Out of that, the rare few are getting this opportunity to really get the mercy of Lord Damodara by either coming here offering them lamps or inviting them into your homes. So let's make this month as beneficial for us, for our own spiritual life. And not only that, we try to share this with others. So on that note, we'll end here because there is a drama that's about to happen, and obviously there'll be announcements happening later on. But thanks again. Like I said, the glories of this month can't be enumerated numerically. The benefit that we get is beyond what we can actually even compare. But again, we are here by the mercy of our Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, Shri Radha Gopinath, that are giving us this opportunity. So let's take this opportunity and make the most of it. That note, we'll end here by chanting one round of the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Radha Gopinath ki, Shri Radha Damodar ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Go Premanandi.